Welcome back to our chilling series exploring the eerie and forsaken corners of the United States, where history and horror intertwine in ways that defy explanation. In this fourth episode of Most Haunted Abandoned Places in the U.S., we delve deeper into the shadows cast by ghostly legends, uncovering tales so spine-tingling they'll leave you questioning the boundaries between the living and the dead. From decaying asylums to crumbling mansions, abandoned factories to desolate towns frozen in time, these locations are more than just relics of a bygone era. They are vessels carrying the echoes of lives lived, lost, and lingering. Abandoned places hold a unique power over our imaginations. They stand as monuments to human ambition, tragedy, and neglect, their silent walls bearing witness to events too painful or mysterious to forget. Each site is steeped in its own dark secrets, whispers of unspeakable suffering, betrayal, and unrelenting sorrow. Whether it's the faint creak of floorboards in an empty hallway, the flicker of lights in a building without power, or disembodied voices drifting through the air, these places seem alive with the presence of something otherworldly. The past refuses to stay buried here, and the spirits of those who once walked these grounds refuse to move on. In this episode, we'll journey to some of the most infamous haunted abandoned locales across the country, places steeped in lore and fear, where the boundaries between reality and nightmare blur. We'll peer into the shadowy depths of asylums where patients endured unimaginable horrors, explore eerie mansions cloaked in mystery, and tread cautiously through ghost towns teeming with restless spirits. Along the way, we'll hear first-hand accounts from witnesses brave enough to confront the unknown, examine chilling evidence captured by paranormal investigators, and unravel the tragic histories that give rise to these hauntings. So dim the lights, keep your ears sharp, and prepare yourself for a descent into the macabre. As we step into the haunted heart of America's abandoned places, remember, sometimes, the most terrifying truths lie just beyond the veil, and once you cross it, there's no turning back. The Trans-Allegheny Lunatic Asylum, a fortress of suffering perched on the outskirts of Weston, West Virginia, the Trans-Allegheny Lunatic Asylum looms like a monolithic fortress, a sprawling Gothic structure whose imposing stone walls conceal decades of suffering, experimentation, and supernatural activity. Originally constructed in 1858, the asylum was designed to house 250 patients but quickly became overcrowded, eventually holding over 2,600 individuals at its peak. With its labyrinthine corridors, towering ceilings, and barred windows, the building exudes an aura of oppression that has only intensified with time. It stands today as one of the most notorious haunted sites in the United States, a place where the cries of the forgotten still echo through its halls. One of the most pervasive legends tied to the asylum revolves around room 502, said to be haunted by the spirit of a nurse named Elizabeth. According to local lore, Elizabeth worked tirelessly under grueling conditions before succumbing to depression and taking her own life by jumping from the window of her third-floor quarters. Visitors exploring the room report strange occurrences, sudden drops in temperature, disembodied footsteps pacing near the window ledge, and the overwhelming scent of antiseptic lingering in the air. Some claim to feel an icy hand brushing against their skin or hear faint whispers pleading for help as they approach the doorway. Another prominent figure in the asylum's haunted lore is believed to be Jacob, a patient who suffered severe abuse during his confinement. Historical records indicate that Jacob was subjected to electroshock therapy and solitary confinement as punishment for minor infractions. Paranormal investigators exploring the property have captured EVP recordings suggesting the presence of a male entity whispering phrases like, "Get out," and "Leave me alone." Witnesses described seeing a shadowy figure resembling Jacob huddled in corners, clutching his knees tightly before vanishing without a trace when approached. The asylum's basement, once used for storage and morgue operations, has become a focal point of paranormal activity. Employees tasked with cleaning the area often describe hearing chains rattling and heavy footsteps echoing through the cavernous space, though no one else is present. Some claim to see shadowy figures dragging invisible loads, their movements jerky and unnatural. A particularly chilling account comes from a maintenance worker who swore he felt cold metal cuffs snap around his wrists, pulling him backward toward the darkness before releasing him abruptly. Overnight visitors to the Trans-Allegheny Lunatic Asylum frequently recount bizarre experiences that defy logical explanation. Lights flicker unpredictably, especially in hallways leading to the older sections of the building. Doors slam shut on their own, and the scent of smoke wafts through the air despite the lack of fire hazards. One guest described waking up to find his reflection in the mirror staring back at him, but not quite matching his movements, as if another entity stood behind him, mimicking his actions. Another recounted seeing a man in a tattered patient uniform standing at the foot of her bed, his hollow eyes boring into hers before vanishing without a sound. Despite, or perhaps because of, its haunted reputation, the Trans-Allegheny Lunatic Asylum remains a popular destination for history enthusiasts and thrill-seekers alike. Its rich tapestry of human drama, interwoven with tragedy and loss, creates an atmosphere unlike any other. For those brave enough to book a stay, the possibility of encountering Elizabeth, Jacob, or one of the countless other spirits said to roam its halls adds an element of excitement and trepidation. Yet, as each new visitor crosses its threshold, they must decide whether they are ready to face the darkness that lingers within these walls, or will they become another chapter in the asylum's tragic tale. The Waverly Hills Sanatorium, shadows of disease and despair nestled in the rolling hills of Louisville, Kentucky. The Waverly Hills Sanatorium stands as a grim reminder of humanity's battle against tuberculosis, a disease that claimed millions of lives before the advent of antibiotics. Built in 1910, the sanatorium was initially hailed as a beacon of hope for those afflicted with consumption, offering fresh air, sunlight therapy, and cutting-edge treatments of the time. However, beneath its pristine facade lay a darker narrative, one marked by overcrowding, unethical experiments, and untimely deaths. Today, the abandoned sanatorium is widely regarded as one of the most haunted places in America, its halls teeming with restless spirits unwilling to fade into oblivion. One of the most enduring legends tied to Waverly Hills revolves around the infamous body chute, a narrow tunnel used to transport deceased patients discreetly out of sight from the living. Historical records indicate that thousands of bodies were carried down this chute during the sanatorium's operational years, ensuring families would not lose hope upon seeing hearses leaving the premises. Decades later, visitors exploring the tunnel report hearing faint moans and the sound of dragging footsteps emanating from its depths. Some claim to see shadowy figures huddled in the corners, their faces obscured by darkness, while others described feeling an oppressive weight pressing down on them as they descend into the earth. Another haunting figure associated with Waverly Hills is believed to be Mary, a young girl who succumbed to tuberculosis during her stay at the facility. According to local lore, Mary befriended a doll given to her by nurses in an attempt to lift her spirits. Her ghost is said to wander the children's ward, her ethereal form illuminated by dim light filtering through broken windows. Guests visiting the sanatorium have reported seeing a pale figure clutching a tattered doll, her expression frozen in eternal anguish. Others describe hearing faint giggles followed by sudden silence, as though Mary is playing games only she can understand. The sanatorium's fourth floor, once reserved for severely ill patients, has also gained a reputation for paranormal activity. Employees tasked with maintaining the area describe hearing muffled voices and the sound of footsteps echoing through the narrow passageways, though no one else is present. Objects are known to move inexplicably. Tools vanish only to reappear hours later in entirely different locations. One particularly unnerving incident involved a janitor who swore he saw a young boy playing with marbles in the corner of the room, only for the child to disappear when approached. Theories abound that the boy may have been a victim of illness or accident during the sanatorium's early years, forever trapped in the confines of its upper levels. Despite, or perhaps because of, its haunted allure, Waverly Hills continues to attract curious souls eager to confront its spectral inhabitants. For many, visiting the site serves as both a pilgrimage and a reckoning, an opportunity to honor the lives lost and acknowledge the sacrifices made in pursuit of medical progress. Whether you're drawn by the allure of its haunting beauty or the weight of its tragic legacy, Waverly Hills offers an unforgettable experience where the past refuses to fade quietly into oblivion. The Eastern State Penitentiary, whispers behind bars deep in the heart of Philadelphia, Pennsylvania, lies the Eastern State Penitentiary, a foreboding Gothic structure that once housed some of America's most notorious criminals. Opened in 1829, The prison pioneered the concept of solitary confinement, believing isolation would lead inmates to penitence and reform. However, the harsh realities of life within its stone walls resulted in widespread mental deterioration among prisoners, earning Eastern State a reputation as one of the cruelest institutions of its kind. Today, the abandoned penitentiary stands as a monument to human suffering, its crumbling cells and echoing corridors harboring the spirits of those who endured unimaginable torment. One of the most pervasive legends tied to Eastern State revolves around death row, where executions were carried out using electric chairs. Historical records indicate that hundreds of inmates met their end in this section of the prison, many protesting their innocence until their final moments. Decades later, visitors exploring the area report hearing faint screams and the crackle of electricity emanating from the execution chamber. Some claim to see shadowy figures strapped to the chair, their bodies convulsing violently before dissolving into mist. Others describe feeling an intense surge of heat accompanied by the smell of burning flesh, as though reliving the horrors of execution firsthand. Another haunting figure associated with Eastern State is believed to be Al Capone, the infamous gangster who served time there in the late 1920s. According to accounts, Capone was tormented by nightmares during his incarceration, claiming he was haunted by the ghost of James Clark, a victim of the St. Valentine's Day massacre orchestrated by Capone's organization. Paranormal investigators exploring the property have captured EVP recordings suggesting the presence of a male entity whispering phrases like, "You killed us!" and "Pay for your sins." Witnesses describe seeing a shadowy figure resembling Capone pacing anxiously near his former cell, clutching what appears to be a revolver before vanishing without a trace. The prison's underground tunnels, once used for transporting supplies and conducting clandestine activities, have also gained a reputation for paranormal activity. Employees tasked with maintaining the area describe hearing chains rattling and heavy footsteps echoing through the cavernous space, though no one else is present. Some claim to see shadowy figures dragging invisible loads, their movements jerky and unnatural. A particularly chilling account comes from a maintenance worker who swore he felt cold metal cuffs snap around his wrists, pulling him backward toward the darkness before releasing him abruptly. Overnight visitors to Eastern State Penitentiary frequently recount bizarre experiences that defy logical explanation. Lights flicker unpredictably, especially in hallways leading to the older sections of the building. Doors slam shut on their own, and the scent of rust and decay permeates the air despite efforts to clean the premises. One guest described waking up to find his reflection in the mirror staring back at him, but not quite matching his movements, as if another entity stood behind him, mimicking his actions. Another recounted seeing a man in a tattered prisoner uniform standing at the foot of her bed, his hollow eyes boring into hers before vanishing without a sound. Despite, or perhaps because of, its haunted reputation, Eastern State Penitentiary remains a popular destination for history enthusiasts and thrill-seekers alike. Its rich tapestry of human drama, interwoven with tragedy and loss, creates an atmosphere unlike any other. For those brave enough to book a stay, the possibility of encountering Al Capone, James Clark, or one of the countless other spirits said to roam its halls adds an element of excitement and trepidation. Yet, as each new visitor crosses its threshold, they must decide whether they are ready to face the darkness that lingers within these walls, or will they become another chapter in the penitentiary's tragic tale. The Salton Sea Naval Base, echoes of war and waste nestled along the shores of California's desolate Salton Sea. The abandoned naval base stands as a haunting relic of Cold War paranoia and environmental catastrophe. Established in the 1940s as part of the U.S. Navy's training operations, the base thrived briefly before falling victim to budget cuts and ecological disaster. Once a bustling hub of military activity, it now lies in ruins, a skeletal testament to humanity's hubris and the destructive power of nature. Today, the Salton Sea Naval Base is shrouded in mystery, its decaying structures teeming with restless spirits unable to escape the toxic wasteland that surrounds them. One of the most pervasive legends tied to the naval base revolves around Building 34, a hangar used for aircraft maintenance and storage. Historical records indicate that several fatal accidents occurred within its walls, including a devastating explosion in 1957 that claimed the lives of 12 sailors. Decades later, visitors exploring the wreckage report hearing faint metallic clangs and the roar of engines emanating from the gutted interior. Some claim to see shadowy figures huddled around workbenches, their forms dissolving into mist when approached. Others described feeling an intense wave of heat accompanied by the acrid smell of burning oil, as though reliving the horrors of the explosion firsthand. Another haunting figure associated with the naval base is believed to be Lieutenant James Holloway, a decorated pilot who disappeared during a routine training mission in the early 1960s. According to local lore, his plane crashed into the Salton Sea, but neither the wreckage nor his body was ever recovered. Paranormal investigators exploring the property have captured EVP recordings suggesting the presence of a male entity whispering phrases like, "I'm still here," and "Find me." Witnesses describe seeing a shadowy figure resembling Holloway wandering the shoreline, his silhouette illuminated by moonlight before vanishing without a trace. The naval base's underground bunkers, once used for storing munitions and classified documents, have also gained a reputation for paranormal activity. Employees tasked with cleaning the area describe hearing muffled voices and the sound of footsteps echoing through the narrow passageways, though no one else is present. Objects are known to move inexplicably. Tools vanish only to reappear hours later in entirely different locations. One particularly unnerving incident involved a janitor who swore he saw a young sailor playing cards in the corner of the room, only for the figure to disappear when approached. Theories abound that the sailor may have been a victim of an accident or suicide during the base's operational years, forever trapped in the confines of its lower levels. Modern-day investigations into the Salton Sea Naval Base's supernatural claims have yielded intriguing results. Thermal imaging cameras reveal significant temperature drops in specific areas, including the hangar and the shoreline. Electromagnetic field (EMF) meters register unusual spikes, particularly near rusted equipment and vehicles left behind after abandonment. Perhaps the most compelling evidence comes from audio recordings, which capture disembodied voices uttering fragmented sentences like, "Help me," and "Don't leave." Despite, or perhaps because of, its haunted allure, the Salton Sea Naval Base continues to attract curious souls eager to confront its spectral inhabitants. For many, visiting the site serves as both a pilgrimage and a reckoning, an opportunity to honor the lives lost and acknowledge the sacrifices made in pursuit of national security. Whether you're drawn by the allure of its haunting beauty or the weight of its tragic legacy, the naval base offers an unforgettable experience where the past refuses to fade quietly into oblivion. As we traverse the haunted landscapes of America, from the opulent halls of asylums to the somber grounds of prisons, striking similarities emerge that transcend individual locations and histories. These patterns are not merely coincidental but reflect universal themes of human emotion, unresolved trauma, and the enduring power of memory. From the wailing wards of hospitals to the shadowed basements of military bases, these sites share a commonality that binds them together in a spectral sisterhood of sorrow and suspense. One recurring motif is the concept of unfinished business. Whether it's the victims of unethical experiments or the betrayed trust of patients subjected to inhumane treatments, these spirits seem tethered to the earthly realm by grievances left unaddressed. Their presence manifests as restless energy, often communicated through auditory phenomena, cries, whispers, or disembodied voices, that serve as pleas for acknowledgement or closure. This theme resonates across cultures and belief systems, reflecting humanity's innate need to resolve conflict and seek peace, even in death. Another shared characteristic is the role of architecture in amplifying paranormal activity. Historic buildings, with their labyrinthine corridors, thick walls, and hidden alcoves, create environments conducive to isolating individuals and heightening fear. These structural elements act as metaphors for the psychological barriers erected by those who suffered within their confines, trapping emotions such as anger, despair, and regret. It's no coincidence that many reported hauntings occur in spaces imbued with emotional significance: operating rooms where surgeries went awry, basements where bodies were stored, or wards where patients met tragic ends. Lighting and sensory manipulation also feature prominently in these narratives. Flickering lights, sudden temperature drops, and inexplicable odors are staples of ghostly encounters, designed to disorient and unsettle. Such phenomena strip away the comfort of familiarity, forcing guests to confront the unknown. The use of mirrors, a recurring element in stories from various haunted hospitals, adds another layer of psychological tension, as reflections distort perception and blur the boundary between self and other. This interplay of light and shadow becomes a tool wielded by unseen forces, creating moments of visceral terror that linger long after the initial shock subsides. Finally, the prevalence of historical context cannot be overstated. Each location's haunting is deeply rooted in its unique past, shaped by the socio-cultural milieu of its time. The brutal medical practices embedded in the DNA of older establishments contrast sharply with the glamorous yet tragic lives immortalized in urban legends. Yet both narratives tap into broader archetypes of ambition, betrayal, and mortality, ensuring their resonance with audiences regardless of personal experience. By drawing on these universal motifs, these haunted places transform from mere buildings into living repositories of collective memory, inviting us to peer into the abyss of our shared humanity. Thus, while each establishment boasts its own distinct flavor of fright, the underlying threads connecting them reveal a tapestry rich with meaning. These patterns remind us that the supernatural is not so much about the entities themselves but the stories they tell, the echoes of lives interrupted, passions extinguished, and truths obscured. As we continue to explore these haunted locales, we find ourselves grappling not only with the specters of the past but with the timeless questions they raise about life, death, and everything in between. The psychology of fear. Why haunted abandoned places captivate us? What is it about haunted abandoned places that grips our imaginations so profoundly? Beyond the creaking floorboards and flickering lights lies a deeper allure, one rooted in the psychology of fear and the human fascination with the unknown. These sites, by their very nature, are places of vulnerability. They are where we confront our mortality, stripped of autonomy and control, relying entirely on the expertise of others to heal us, or where justice was denied, leaving wounds that refuse to heal. When these spaces become haunted, they amplify our primal fears, transforming familiar settings into arenas of existential dread. The combination of historical context, architectural design, and the lingering presence of past suffering creates a perfect storm of terror that resonates deeply within us. At the core of this captivation is the concept of liminality, the state of being on the threshold between two worlds. Haunted abandoned places exist in this liminal space, bridging life and death, health and illness, hope and despair. This inherent duality makes them fertile ground for supernatural narratives. Ghosts, as manifestations of unresolved trauma or unfinished business, embody the tension of being caught between states. They serve as reminders that the boundaries we construct, between life and afterlife, sanity and madness, are far more permeable than we'd like to believe. For many, visiting a haunted abandoned site feels like stepping into a twilight zone where the rules of reality no longer apply, igniting both curiosity and unease. Architecturally, haunted abandoned places contribute to this atmosphere of dread through their design. Long, sterile hallways lined with identical doors create a sense of disorientation, while poor lighting and echoing acoustics heighten sensory awareness. These features mimic the psychological effects of anxiety and claustrophobia, making even mundane sounds, a distant cough, the hum of fluorescent lights, feel ominous. The labyrinthine layouts of older structures, with their hidden wings and underground tunnels, evoke feelings of entrapment and uncertainty. Every corner becomes a potential threat, every shadow a possible harbinger of danger. This environmental manipulation taps into our instinctual fight-or-flight response, keeping us perpetually on edge. Cultural influences also play a significant role in shaping our fascination with haunted abandoned places. Media representations, from films like The Shining to television series such as American Horror Story, have cemented the trope of the haunted asylum, courthouse, or battlefield as a locus of horror. These portrayals often blend historical truths with fictional embellishments, creating a mythology that blurs fact and fiction. Audiences are drawn to these stories because they reflect societal anxieties about institutional power, systemic injustice, and the fragility of the human mind. Haunted abandoned places become microcosms of larger fears, the loss of agency, the misuse of authority, and the haunting specter of mistakes made in the name of progress. Moreover, haunted abandoned places appeal to our desire for catharsis. Engaging with these tales allows us to process our own fears about mortality, injustice, and the flaws inherent in systems meant to protect us. By confronting ghostly apparitions and unexplained phenomena, we externalize internal anxieties, transforming abstract fears into tangible adversaries. This vicarious experience provides a safe outlet for exploring the darker aspects of human existence, offering both thrill and relief. It's no wonder that ghost tours and paranormal investigations of haunted abandoned places attract participants eager to test their courage against the unknown. Ultimately, the enduring allure of haunted abandoned places lies in their ability to mirror our deepest fears while challenging our understanding of reality. They remind us that the past is never truly buried, that pain and injustice leave indelible marks on both people and places. As we walk their haunted halls, we are forced to confront not only the spirits said to inhabit them but also the ghosts within ourselves, the regrets, doubts, and unanswered questions that linger long after the wounds have healed. In doing so, we find a strange comfort in knowing that we are not alone in our fears, that others have walked these same paths and emerged shaken but alive. To tell their stories. As we bring this chilling journey through America's most haunted abandoned places to a close, one thing becomes abundantly clear. The spirits of the past refuse to be silenced. Each creaking floorboard, each whispered name, and each fleeting shadow serves as a testament to lives lived, lost, and lingering in the spaces we dare to call haunted. These stories are more than mere campfire tales. They are fragments of history, stitched together by human emotion, tragedy, and the relentless passage of time. They remind us that the line between the living and the dead is far thinner than we might believe, and that sometimes the most terrifying truths lie just beyond the veil. But why stop here? If these accounts have stirred something within you, a spark of curiosity, a shiver of excitement, I urge you to take the next step. Visit one of America's haunted abandoned places yourself. Walk the same halls where spirits are said to roam, stand in the rooms where history's echoes reverberate, and let the unknown brush against your senses. Whether you're a skeptic seeking proof or a believer eager to commune with the other side, these forsaken institutions offer an unparalleled opportunity to confront the mysteries that lie just beyond comprehension. There's nothing quite like experiencing the weight of decades-old despair firsthand, feeling the chill of a presence that defies explanation, or hearing the faint strains of voices from another time. And when you return, share your story. Did you feel the icy touch of a ghostly hand? Hear the faint tap of footsteps in an empty corridor? Or perhaps nothing happened at all, but isn't that silence just as intriguing? Your experiences add to the rich tapestry of lore surrounding these haunted abandoned places, ensuring their legacies endure for generations to come. Share your findings with fellow enthusiasts, document your journey, and keep the conversation alive. After all, every whisper contributes to the symphony of the supernatural. Until then, keep your lanterns lit and your courage steady. The spirits are waiting.